3 nurses disappeared during their late-night shift at the hospital, leaving their mothers and the entire staff shaken and desperate for answers. But 6 months afterward, a sewer maintenance worker discovers something horrifying lodged inside a drainage pipe. A find that would shift everything and expose the terrifying truth behind their disappearance. The morning sun filtered through the curtains of Amanda Silvera's kitchen as she paced back and forth, her cell phone pressed against her ear. The steam from her untouched coffee spiraled upward in the still air of her Novo Valle home. It had been exactly 6 months since her daughter Paula went missing without a trace, along with her 2 best friends, Laura Pereira and Bella Santos. "I still can't believe we're dealing with a water issue on top of everything else," Amanda sighed into the phone. "My shower this morning was just brown sludge." "Same here," replied Isabella Costa, her voice weary from months of worry. "The entire neighborhood's affected. Laura had to cancel her morning appointments at the clinic because they can't sterilize equipment properly." Dr. Lina Moreira, the 3rd mother on their 3-way call, spoke up. "The hospital director called me at 4 a.m. about it. Something about a major blockage in the city system. Public Works has been fixing it since last night." The 3 women had formed an unbreakable bond since their daughters vanished. Before the disappearance, they had been mere acquaintances through their daughter's friendship, but grief and uncertainty had forged them into a support network none of them could now imagine living without. Their children, the 3 young nurses, had been inseparable since they all got jobs at Colina Verde General Hospital after nursing school. Paula had become a certified nurse in the dermatology and plastic surgery unit. Laura worked in pediatrics, and Bella had found her calling in the busy emergency department. Different wards, different shifts, but they always made time for each other. Detective Martins promised he'd call if there was any news. Lina reminded them, "The police haven't stopped searching." As if called by the mention of his name, Amanda's phone buzzed with an incoming call. She pulled the device from her ear and checked the screen. "Detective Ricardo Martins." She read aloud, her heart instantly racing. "I need to take this, hang on." She quickly switched calls, her fingers trembling. "Detective, any news?" "Mrs. Silvera?" The detective's low voice came through the line, sounding tense. "There's been a significant development in the case. It's linked to the water issue affecting your neighborhood." Amanda's legs buckled, and she gripped the edge of her kitchen counter for support. "What is it? Have you found them?" "I can't explain over the phone," Detective Martins replied. "I need you to come to the site. Can you bring the others, Mrs. Costa and Dr. Moreira? It may involve their daughters as well." "I'm on the phone with them right now," Amanda said, her voice climbing. "We'll be there immediately." "Where are you?" "We're at the industrial complex, specifically the sewer maintenance area in Rio dos Canais district," he said. "I'll text you the precise location. Please come as soon as you can." After the detective hung up, Amanda quickly switched back to the call with her friends. "That was Detective Martins," she announced, her voice shaking. "He says there's a major update in the case, and it's linked to the water issue. He wants us at the Rio dos Canais industrial complex at the sewer maintenance area." "The sewer?" Isabella repeated, confusion clear in her tone. "What could that possibly have to do with our daughters?" "I don't know," Amanda replied, already grabbing her car keys from the hook by the door. "But he sounded urgent. He's sending the exact location to my phone." "I'm leaving now," Lina said firmly. "I'll meet you both there." The call ended, and Amanda rushed to her car, her mind racing with possibilities. The morning air was cool against her skin as she slid into the driver's seat. Her phone beeped with a text from Detective Martins containing a map pin. She quickly shared it with Isabella and Lina, then entered it into her GPS and backed out of her driveway. The 20-minute drive to the industrial complex felt like hours Amanda's knuckles were white on the steering wheel as she navigated through Novo Vile's morning traffic. When she finally arrived at the location, she saw numerous police vehicles and a public works truck parked around what appeared to be an excavation site. Yellow crime scene tape cordoned off a large area where workers in coveralls were gathered around a heavy pipe uncovered from the ground. As Amanda parked and stepped out of her car, she spotted Isabella pulling in beside her. They exchanged a worried look before walking together toward the scene. Lena arrived moments later, joining them at the edge of the cordoned-off area. Detective Ricardo Martins, a tall man with flecks of gray at his temples and perpetually tired eyes, spotted them and motioned them over. He lifted the tape for them to duck under. "Thank you for coming so fast," he said grimly. "There's something you need to see." He led them closer to where several officers were photographing items laid out on the muddy ground. As they approached, Amanda's breath caught in her throat. Spread on the ground were 3 sets of nurse outfits, one pink, one blue, and one green, along with pairs of white nursing shoes. They were caked with mud and stained with what looked like blood, but they were unmistakably the kind worn by hospital staff. "Oh my God," Isabella whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. Detective Martins pointed to a sewer worker standing nearby. "Mr. Gomes here was checking the cause of the water backup that's been affecting your neighborhood since last night. When his team found the blockage and began clearing it, they discovered these." The worker, a middle-aged man in mud-splattered coveralls, nodded solemnly. "Never seen anything like it in 20 years on the job." The outfits were all bundled, tight with medical tape and steel wire, formed into a ball wedged right in the main junction pipe, causing a massive backup all the way to the hospital district. Detective Martins turned to the 3 mothers. "We need you to tell us if you recognize these. Could they belong to your daughters?" Amanda stepped forward first, her legs quivering. She went to the tarp, kneeling carefully beside the pink scrubs. The size looked right, and there was a small pin on the collar, a silver dermatology emblem that Paula always wore. "These are Paula's," she confirmed, her voice barely audible. "She always wore pink scrubs in dermatology, and these are her shoes." Isabella moved to the blue set. "Laura's are blue. Pediatric nurses wear blue at Colina Verde." Her fingers hovered over the fabric, not touching, but recognizing. There's the butterfly patch she sewed on the pocket. It's hers. Lena, with the clinical detachment that sometimes came with her medical background, examined the green outfit. "ER staff wear green. This fits Bella's size, and these are definitely her shoes. She had those soles with extra grip because of the slippery floors in the emergency unit." Detective Martins nodded to a forensics tech setting up equipment under a nearby tent. "We'll do preliminary DNA testing right here. If you can wait a few minutes, we'll have initial results." The mothers were led to a police vehicle where they could sit while the forensic team worked. The wait was agonizing, with each woman lost in her own thoughts. Amanda stared at the excavation area, watching as more officers photographed the pipe and surrounding ground. After what seemed like forever, Detective Martins came back to them. His expression told them everything before he spoke. "The preliminary tests confirm it. DNA from all 3 outfits matched the samples you provided when your daughters went missing," he said softly. "Given how intact the fabric and colors are, we don't believe they've been in the sewer system for the full 6 months. This is recent evidence." "What does that mean?" Lena asked, her medical mind already running the possibilities. "It means," Detective Martin said, "that someone intentionally disposed of these outfits recently. The way they were bundled with wire suggests they wanted them to block the pipe, or at least sink and stay hidden. This wasn't an accident. Are our daughters—" Isabella couldn't finish the question. "We don't have evidence of that," The detective assured her quickly. What we do have is our first real lead in months. Someone had these outfits and tried to discard them in a way that suggests they're hiding evidence, or maybe wanted it to be found. Someone may still know what happened to Paula, Laura, and Bella. Amanda looked back at the muddy outfits, her daughter's pink scrubs now being carefully placed in an evidence bag. So, what happens now? We follow this lead, Detective Martins said with resolve. And since the evidence was dumped recently, we have a much better chance of tracking whoever did this. As the forensic team continued processing the evidence, a silver BMW pulled in at the edge of the scene. Amanda watched as a man in his early 40s stepped out, his posture stiff with concern as he surveyed the police activity. He wore pricey, casual clothes under a light jacket, looking as though he'd dressed in a hurry. "Dr. Albuquerque," Detective Martins called out, recognizing the newcomer. Amanda recognized him too. Dr. Rafael Albuquerque, the dermatologist and plastic surgeon who supervised Paula at the hospital, had attended the first few search meetings after the girls went missing, but gradually stopped coming as weeks dragged on. The doctor approached, offering a firm handshake to the detective. "I just finished my night shift and was driving home when I saw all the commotion," he explained, running a hand through his perfectly styled dark hair. "Is there some kind of accident? I saw the public works truck and got worried." Detective Martins briefly explained the situation, gesturing toward the evidence area. "We've recovered what appear to be the missing nurses' outfits from a sewer pipe blockage. This is the first significant evidence we've found in months." Dr. Albuquerque's eyebrows rose and he glanced toward the three mothers with a sympathetic look. "I heard about the water issues at the hospital last night. The surgeries nearly got cancelled because of it." His gaze settled on the evidence bags being loaded into a police van. "Those are their outfits." "Yes," Amanda confirmed, watching his reaction carefully. "Paula's pink ones from your department." Something flickered across the doctor's face. Concern, perhaps something deeper. "Nurse Paula was outstanding," he said quietly. "Best assistant I ever had in plastic surgery. Her attention to detail was unmatched." He turned back to Detective Martins. "What happens now? Does this change the investigation?" "With this evidence, we're moving from a missing persons case to a potential criminal investigation," the detective explained. "We'll review CCTV footage from businesses near the sewer access points and re-interview hospital staff." Dr. Albuquerque nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense, though I only work night shifts at Colina Verde now. During the day, I run my private clinic. I actually just finished my night shift and have patients waiting this afternoon." Detective Martins pulled out a small notepad. "We'd like to speak with you again as part of our follow-up interviews. Would you be available at the hospital during your shift, or should we schedule something at your private clinic?" "Either is fine, Doctor," Albuquerque said, pulling out a business card. "Here's my clinic information. Perhaps we can set a separate time. My schedule is pretty full with patients." As they talked, a news van pulled up to the scene, and reporters began unloading equipment. Dr. Albuquerque's demeanor suddenly changed, his shoulders tensed, and he started glancing repeatedly at his watch. "I really should go," he said, stepping back. "I need to rest before my afternoon appointments. Please keep me updated on any developments. I've missed Paula's help greatly." Detective Martins thanked him for stopping by and turned. To greet the arriving media team, Dr. Albuquerque quickly retreated toward his car, adjusting his jacket as he walked. Amanda noticed something odd about his behavior, the sudden urgency to leave when the media arrived. While Lena and Isabella stayed to prepare for the inevitable interviews, Amanda found herself hurrying after the doctor. "Dr. Albuquerque." "Wait," she called, catching up to him at the edge of the parking area. He turned, surprise evident on his face. "Mrs. Silvera, is there something else?" "We haven't spoken in months," he said, studying her face. How have you been?" "Busy," he replied, his hand resting on his car door. "Opening a private clinic has been demanding but rewarding. I wish Paula were here. We discussed my plans many times. She was excited about possibly joining me once I got established." A sad smile touched his lips. "No other nurse has her expertise in post-op care for facial procedures." "I didn't know you opened your own clinic," Amanda said. "Congratulations." "Thank you," he replied, seeming to relax slightly. "It's always been my goal to have my own consultation space. Most surgeries still happen at the hospital, of course. I don't have all the necessary equipment at my clinic yet." Before Amanda could respond, Isabella and Lena approached, having obviously decided to avoid the media after all. "Dr. Albuquerque," Lena said with a polite nod, "I actually have an appointment at your clinic this afternoon. I have a patient who might need plastic surgery, and I wanted to talk about the case with you." "Ah, Dr. Moreira." "Yes," she said, recognition flickering in his eyes. "I have you scheduled at 2 o'clock, correct?" "That's right," she confirmed. The doctor kept a polite smile, but Amanda noticed how his fingers tapped restlessly against his car door. "I'm sorry, but I really must go. It was a long night, and I need to rest before my afternoon appointments," he said, nodding to them all. "I'll see you this afternoon, Dr. Moreira." As he drove away, Amanda turned to Lena. "Where exactly is his new clinic?" Lena looked surprised by the question. "It's on Avenida das Flores, near the main intersection with Rua das Palmeiras. It opened the same month our daughters vanished. I'm surprised you didn't know." Amanda shook her head slowly. "With everything that's happened, I stopped noticing anything outside this nightmare." She paused, thinking about the doctor's behavior. "Did he seem odd to you this morning?" He looked tired. Isabella offered. "Night shifts are exhausting. I remember when Laura was doing her night rotation in the NICU. She was like a zombie." "Maybe," Amanda murmured, not entirely convinced. A reporter approached them, microphone in hand, and Amanda reluctantly agreed to a brief interview. She spoke about their ongoing hope of finding the girls and her belief that whoever dumped the outfits would eventually be found. After the interviews, Detective Martins gathered the three mothers again. "The forensics team will keep processing the evidence. I'll update you as soon as we have more solid information from the lab and the sewer experts. We're going to find out what happened to your daughters and who discarded these outfits." With heavy hearts but a renewed sense of hope, the three women returned to their cars, each processing the morning's shocking events in her own way. Amanda drove slowly through the familiar streets of Novo Val, her mind replaying the morning's events. The image of Paula's mud-streaked pink scrubs kept flashing before her eyes. Those outfits had been a source of such pride for her daughter, the tangible proof of her hard work through nursing school and her achievement in landing a position at Colina Verde General. As she approached a traffic light at the main intersection, something caught her eye. On the corner stood a modern-looking building with a tasteful sign that read Nova Vida Estetica. The parking lot was empty, except for a single silver BMW, Dr. Albuquerque's car. "He said he was going home to rest," Amanda murmured to herself, slowing her car as the light turned red. Through the building's large front windows, despite the darkened interior, she could make out silhouettes. Dr. Albuquerque appeared to be engaged in an intense conversation with another man. The doctor's body language was tense. He was gesturing, emphatically, at one point reaching toward the other man's face. The stranger violently swatted the doctor's hand away, his posture aggressive. Amanda watched, mesmerized by the confrontation playing out like a silent movie through the clinic's windows. A sudden blaring horn from behind made her jump in her seat. Looking up, she realized the light had turned green, and the driver behind her was impatiently demanding she move. Flustered, Amanda pressed the gas and drove through the intersection, her eyes darting to the rearview mirror as the clinic disappeared from sight. What was that about? She wondered aloud, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The doctor had seemed composed at the crime scene, if a bit evasive. What could have happened in the short time since to trigger such an intense confrontation? Amanda drove one more block before making a sudden decision. At the next opportunity, she executed a cautious U-turn and began heading back toward the clinic. Logic told her it wasn't her concern, but she couldn't shake the urge to ensure the doctor was safe. And after 6 months of helplessness in the search for her daughter, any oddity felt worth investigating. As she approached the clinic again, she was surprised to see both Dr. Albuquerque's BMW and a motorcycle she hadn't noticed earlier pulling out of the parking lot. The motorcycle, a sleek black sports model, moved ahead quickly while the doctor's car followed more slowly. "At least he's okay," Amanda muttered, relieved that the confrontation hadn't turned violent. Still, as she continued on her usual route home, coincidentally the same direction the two vehicles took, curiosity tugged at her, urging her to see where they were heading. She recalled that the doctor lived in an upscale residential neighborhood not far from this area. Years ago, when Paula had first started working in his department, there had been a celebration at his house after a particularly tough surgery had gone well. Amanda had dropped Paula off at the house, a modern architectural showpiece with wide windows and a perfectly manicured lawn. She remembered picking Paula up later that evening and accidentally witnessing a moment between her daughter and the doctor. He had winked playfully at Paula, causing her to blush. For weeks afterward, Paula had seemed smitten, though she'd refused to discuss it with her mother. Eventually, whatever it was had faded, and Paula resumed her normal self. Now, as Amanda followed at a discreet distance, she noticed Dr. Albuquerque didn't turn toward his neighborhood. Instead, he continued straight, eventually pulling into the parking lot of Supramed Suprimentos Medicos, a store serving healthcare professionals. The motorcycle had gone ahead, turning onto a smaller side street that Amanda knew led to the outskirts of town. There was an old car wash on that street, but the bike zoomed past it without stopping. Amanda slowed her car, staring down the side street. What business would someone have out here? The area is mostly undeveloped, with a few run-down buildings. "This is crazy," she told herself firmly, gripping the wheel. "I'm not a detective or a spy. I'm just a worried mother who's starting to see connections where there probably aren't any." With a deep breath, she continued home, determined to get some rest before discussing the morning's developments with Isabella and Lena later. As she drove, however, she couldn't shake the feeling Dr. Albuquerque wasn't being fully honest. The route home took her past the hospital where Paula had worked. Colina Verde General rose tall against the midday sky, its windows reflecting the sunlight. Somewhere in that building, her daughter had spent countless hours caring for patients, bonding with Laura and Bella, and working alongside Dr. Albuquerque. Had something happened there that led to their disappearance? Amanda had asked herself that question countless times over the past 6 months. Today was the first time they'd found any meaningful clue, and it had been literally dredged up from the sewers beneath the town. As she finally pulled into her driveway, Amanda felt the emotional weight of the morning settle over her. The discovery of the outfits brought hope and dread. Hope they might finally learn what happened, and dread over what that truth might be. The familiar scent of coffee filled Amanda's kitchen as she waited for the pot to finish brewing. After the morning's emotional roller coaster, she needed the caffeine to clear her head. She poured herself a hot mug and settled at her computer, opening her messaging app, expecting a message from Isabella or Lena, but they were likely as drained as she was and taking time to process everything. Amanda switched to her email, hoping for updates from Detective Martins. She refreshed the page, and this time a new message appeared. Her heart skipped as she quickly clicked it open. Mrs. Silvera, I wanted to update you on a major development. Our forensic team found partial fingerprints on the steel wire used to bundle the nurses' outfits. We ran them through our database and found a match. Marcus Diaz, a known gang member with a prior arrest for armed robbery at a convenience store 3 years ago. There are currently multiple warrants for him. We're treating him as our main suspect and will try to locate him at his last known address. I'll keep you informed of any new details. Amanda read the email twice, her coffee forgotten as she absorbed this information. A name. Finally, a name tied to her daughter's disappearance. Curious, she opened her web browser and searched for Marcus Diaz Novo Valley. The search returned several results, including a news story about the convenience store robbery. She clicked on it and found a mugshot of a man in his 30s with extensive tattoos covering his face and neck. His eyes were cold, his expression defiant as he stared into the camera. She studied the image carefully, trying to recall if she'd seen him before. Could this be the man arguing with Dr. Albuquerque? She hadn't gotten a good look at the man's face through the clinic windows, and she certainly hadn't noticed tattoos. Besides, it seemed impossible that someone like Dr. Albuquerque would be linked to a known criminal. It can't be the same person, she murmured. No way. Amanda reached for her phone and dialed Isabella's number. After 3 rings, her friend answered. Did you get the email from Detective Martins? Amanda asked without hesitation. Yes, Isabella replied, her voice tense. This Marcus Diaz person. I've been thinking about something. Laura told me before she disappeared. What's that? Amanda asked, sitting up straighter. In the last few days before she vanished, Laura had said she felt like someone was following her. She said she'd seen a man with tattoos, several times near the hospital and around her apartment. Isabella's voice wavered. That's why she started staying at Bella's place. She felt safer there. Amanda frowned, setting her mug down. Paula never told me anything like that. Did you mention it to Detective Martins? Yes. Right. After the girls disappeared, the police thought it was important, but without evidence or a clear description, they couldn't do much. Did Laura say where exactly she saw him? Amanda asked, her mind racing. There was a pause as Isabella recalled details. I think she said Pine Street near that old car wash. She saw him there a few times when she was heading to work. Amanda's breath caught. The old car wash was on the same street where the motorcyclist had turned earlier, the one who argued with Dr. Albuquerque. Isabella, I saw something weird today, Amanda began, and then described her sightings of Dr. Albuquerque at his clinic and the motorcycle man. The street with the car wash is the same one you mentioned. You think there's a link? Isabella asked, skeptical. Dr. Albuquerque is a respected surgeon. Why would he be mixed up with someone like Marcus Diaz? I don't know, Amanda admitted. Maybe it's nothing, but the timing is off, right? The outfits show. Up in the sewer this morning, and then Dr. Albuquerque suddenly reappears, only to be involved in a heated argument at his clinic after saying he was going home to rest. Maybe we should tell Detective Martins about what you saw, Isabella suggested. I will, but I need to be sure before making accusations. Amanda hesitated, then continued. By the way, did you know Lena has an appointment with Dr. Albuquerque this afternoon at his clinic? Yes, she mentioned that. Something about a patient consultation. I think I might go with her, Amanda decided, just to check out the clinic for myself. You're sounding paranoid, Isabella said gently. Dr. Albuquerque worked with Paula for years. He attended the search meetings at the start. Why would he suddenly be a suspect? I'm not saying he is, Amanda defended, but something feels off. Felt off this morning when he turned up at the industrial complex. There was a long pause before Isabella spoke again. I'll trust your gut, Amanda. You've always been more perceptive than I am. Just be careful not to see connections, because we're desperate for answers. I know, Amanda sighed. Maybe I am seeing things, but after 6 months of nothing, I can't ignore any clue. I understand, Isabella said softly. Let me know what you find out. I think I'll stay home and rest today. This morning was exhausting. After hanging up, Amanda dialed Lena next. When her friend answered, Amanda updated her on Detective Martin's email and her talk with Isabella. A man with tattoos, Lena mused. Bella never said anyone was following her, but she wouldn't have wanted to worry me. She was so independent. Lena, about your appointment with Dr. Albuquerque this afternoon, would you mind if I came with you? Amanda asked. Of course not, Lena replied. Honestly, I don't feel up to driving after today. Maybe we could go together. I'll wait in the lobby while you have your appointment, and then we can talk about what happened. And, Lena, did you think Dr. Albuquerque seemed odd this morning at the scene? Lena paused. Doctors stick to strong ethics, Amanda. Someone with Dr. Albuquerque's reputation wouldn't risk his career doing something illegal. He was probably just tired from his night shift, and the man you saw might have been a difficult patient. It happens. You're probably right, Amanda conceded, though not fully convinced. What time is your appointment? I'll pick you up. 2 o'clock. And Amanda, try not to worry too much. Detective Martins has a solid lead now. Let him do his job. After hanging up, Amanda sat back, scrolling through old photos of Paula on her phone, her daughter's smiling face in her pink scrubs, arm in arm with Laura and Bella at their nursing school graduation. The three of them had been so full of hope and drive that day, excited to start their careers at Colina Verde General. She paused on a group photo from a hospital fundraiser 8 months ago. In the background, slightly blurry but recognizable, was Dr. Albuquerque watching the three nurses with an unreadable expression. Had he always been watching them? If so, why? The hours crawled by as Amanda researched Marcus Diaz, finding little beyond his arrest and a few local articles. She had drifted into a rabbit hole of speculation and almost overthinking when her phone alarm chime reminded her it was time to pick up Lena for the appointment. Looking at the clock, Amanda realized she had to leave immediately. She grabbed her purse and keys, locking the house. The drive to Lena's took only 10 minutes, and her friend was already waiting outside when she arrived. Any updates from Detective Martins? Lena asked as she slid into the passenger seat. Nothing new, Amanda replied, pulling away. Have you talked to Isabella? Briefly, she's resting at home. Lena fidgeted with her handbag. This appointment is for a patient with severe facial scarring from a burn. I've been looking for the right specialist, and Dr. Albuquerque is one of the best around. I get it, Amanda said, weaving through afternoon traffic. Life must go on even through all this. They arrived at Nova Vida Estetica 15 minutes before the appointment. The clinic's exterior was sleek and modern, floor-to-ceiling windows framed by grey stone. The parking lot now had several cars, unlike earlier when only the doctor's BMW was there. As they entered the reception, a young woman in stylish medical scrubs greeted them from behind a curved desk. Good afternoon. Do you have an appointment? She asked with a practiced smile. Yes, Dr. Moreira, 2 o'clock, Lena replied, showing her hospital ID. The receptionist typed at her computer. Then her expression changed to apology. I'm sorry, Dr. Moreira, but Dr. Albuquerque has cancelled all his afternoon appointments due to an emergency. We tried to contact everyone, but a few calls went to voicemail. An emergency, Lena repeated, looking at Amanda. Is everything okay? I wasn't told anything, the receptionist said, "just that we had to reschedule all of today's patients." Amanda moved to the large windows overlooking the parking lot. "His car is still here," she observed, pointing to the silver BMW in the reserved spot. "Has he left already?" The receptionist hesitated. "Dr. Albuquerque is still in his office. He said he'll leave soon, but asked not to be disturbed." Amanda and Lena exchanged a look, thanked the receptionist, and stepped outside. As they walked back to Amanda's car, they passed Dr. Albuquerque's BMW. Amanda slowed, her attention caught by something in the back seat. Through the window, she could see the back seat was filled with medical gear, an oxygen tank, what looked like monitoring devices, and most notably, a folded portable stretcher. "Lena, look at this," Amanda whispered, pointing at the car. "Why would he have all that in his personal vehicle? Doesn't the clinic have its own transport for equipment?" Lena peered through the window, frowning. "That's odd. Most practices use special vehicles for equipment, especially something as bulky as a stretcher." "Something doesn't." "You feel right," Amanda said, moving away as another patient approached the clinic. "First, the argument this morning, now canceling appointments, but still being here with all that gear." "Amanda," Lena said gently, touching her arm. "I think you're overthinking. Put yourself in his shoes. He's a busy doctor who splits time between the hospital and his clinic. Maybe there's a perfectly reasonable explanation." They got into Amanda's car, but instead of starting it, Amanda sat staring at the clinic building. "Should we wait and see what he's doing, where he's going?" "That's almost stalking," Lena said with concern. "Why not go to Isabella's instead? It'd be better to stick together than spend the time alone, overthinking." Amanda hesitated, then reluctantly nodded. "You're right. This is driving me crazy." She started the car and pulled up to the intersection, waiting for the light. In her rearview mirror, she saw movement in the clinic's parking lot. Dr. Albuquerque was hurrying to his car, carrying a small case. "Look," Amanda said quietly. "He's leaving now." They watched as the doctor got into his BMW and quickly backed out of his space. He pulled up to the intersection beside them, positioning his car in the lane to their right. From this close-up, they could see him clearly through his window. Dr. Albuquerque was on his phone, oblivious to them. His face was tense, almost panicked, as he gestured wildly with his free hand. At one point, he slammed his palm on the steering wheel in frustration. "Please!" They heard him exclaim through the partially open window. The next word was faint but clear. "Dangerous!" His expression then softened, shifting from anger to something like pleading as he continued the call, staring ahead and unaware Amanda and Lena were watching. When the light turned green, Dr. Albuquerque's car accelerated, moving ahead of them into the flow of traffic. Behind them, a car honked impatiently. Amanda, startled, quickly drove through the intersection. Without realizing it, she found herself following the doctor's BMW at a discreet distance. "Amanda, what are you doing?" Lena asked, her voice worried. "That didn't seem normal," Amanda replied, keeping the silver car in sight. "Do you think that was normal?" "We're not going to tail the doctor like some detective movie," Lena protested. "He said it was an emergency. It's natural he'd be upset or worried in that situation." "This is irrational, Amanda. We should just go to Isabella's, calm down and wait for updates from Detective Martins." Amanda was about to agree when she saw Dr. Albuquerque's car make a sudden turn at an intersection onto Pinheiro Street. The road with the old car wash Isabella had mentioned, the same street the motorcycle had turned earlier that day. "Lena, this isn't the way to Colina Verde Hospital," Amanda said, easing off the gas as they neared the intersection. "If the doctor had an emergency, wouldn't he be heading to the hospital? That's the only hospital in town." Lena pulled, out her phone and opened a map app. After a moment, she looked up, frowning. "You're right. There's no hospital or medical facility down that road." She hesitated, then added, "Or any residences either." That was all the confirmation Amanda needed. She turned onto Pinheiros Street, following Dr. Albuquerque's car at a distance. Neither of them spoke as they left the familiar parts of Novo Vale behind, the urban scenery gradually giving way to more industrial, less maintained areas. After about 15 minutes of driving, they ended up on a rural road lined with overgrown fields. Ahead, Dr. Albuquerque's BMW pulled into the parking lot of what looked like an abandoned building. A weathered sign, partially hidden by untamed branches, said, "Clínica da Serra." Amanda slowed her car, pulling into a small gas station across the street. From there, they could observe the doctor's movements without being seen. The black motorcycle they had seen earlier was already parked near the building's entrance. "That's the same bike," Amanda whispered. They watched as Dr. Albuquerque began unloading gear from his car, making multiple trips into the dilapidated building. The clinic's windows were covered with dust and grime, and parts of the exterior were crumbling. "Why would he be carrying out any kind of emergency procedure in a place like that?" Lena asked, her professional skepticism finally overtaking her defense of the doctor. "And who's the patient?" "Maybe that man I saw this morning," Amanda suggested. "The one on the motorcycle." Lena pulled out her phone. "I'm calling Detective Martins. This is beyond suspicious." As Lena made the call, Amanda took out her own phone and began recording video of the doctor moving equipment into the building. She sent the footage to Detective Martins and also texted Isabella their location. Isabella replied almost immediately. "What model is that motorcycle?" Laura mentioned seeing a distinctive bike following her. Amanda quickly searched online for motorcycles matching the one parked outside the abandoned clinic. Once she found it, she sent the info to Isabella. "That's it," Isabella replied. "That's the bike Laura described. I didn't think much of it at the time." Lena finished her call with the detective and turned to Amanda. "They're sending units right away. Detective Martin says stay in your car and do not approach the building under any circumstances." "Did he believe us?" Amanda asked, anxious. "He didn't question it at all," Lena replied. "In fact, he sounded like he expected something like this. Maybe he already had suspicions about Dr. Albuquerque." They settled in to wait, watching the abandoned clinic for any further activity. The minutes dragged on, though Amanda's phone showed that only 15 minutes had passed since Lena's call. The distant wail of sirens broke the afternoon quiet. Amanda and Lena exchanged relieved looks as 3 police cruisers appeared on the horizon, lights flashing. The vehicles pulled up to the abandoned clinic with precision, officers immediately taking positions around the building. Detective Martins emerged from the lead cruiser, quickly spotting Amanda's car across the street. He jogged over, his expression grim. "Are you both okay?" he asked as they stepped out of the car. "We're fine," Amanda assured him. "We just followed Dr. Albuquerque here and called you as soon as we realized something wasn't right." "You did the right thing," he said, glancing toward the clinic. "We've been looking into Dr. Albuquerque since this morning. After we found those outfits, we checked hospital access logs from the past 6 months. There were some odd entries with his badge, areas he shouldn't have accessed, times when he wasn't even scheduled." "You suspected him?" Lena asked, in disbelief. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" "I couldn't, not without proof," Detective Martins explained. "Dr. Albuquerque is respected in this community. Making accusations without evidence would have been irresponsible." A commotion at the clinic drew their attention. Officers surrounded the building, weapons drawn. Over a loudspeaker, one officer ordered anyone inside to come out with hands visible. "I need you both to stay here," Detective Martin said firmly. "This is now an active police operation." He hurried back to join his team, leaving Amanda and Lena to watch anxiously from the gas station lot. Minutes later, the clinic door opened. Dr. Rafael Albuquerque emerged first, his hands raised. Above his head, his once pristine look was gone. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and his expression a mix of defiance and resignation. Behind him came another man, taller, more muscular, with faint burn scars on his face and hands that looked like tattoo removal scars. Amanda realized this must be Marcus Diaz. Officers quickly handcuffed both men and led them to separate police cruisers. Detective Martins approached Dr. Albuquerque, talking sharply for a moment before placing him in a cruiser. Then something unexpected happened. More officers emerged from the building, this time escorting three frail-looking women who were being carefully guided toward waiting ambulances that had just arrived. Even from across the street, Amanda recognized them immediately. "Oh my, a god!" she gasped, clutching Lena's arm. "It's them! It's our girls!" Without thinking, they both ran across the street, ignoring the officer who tried to stop them. Paula, Laura, and Bella were being carefully placed on stretchers, looking severely dehydrated and disoriented. Their once vibrant faces were gaunt, their eyes hollow from months of captivity. "Paula!" Amanda cried, reaching for her daughter's hand. Paula's eyes, unfocused at first, slowly registered recognition. "Mom," she whispered, her voice cracked from disuse. A paramedic gently intervened. "Ma'am, we need to get them to the hospital right now. They're severely dehydrated and malnourished." Detective Martins appeared beside Amanda. "They're alive, Mrs. Silvera, all three of them. We're taking them to Colina Verde General now." How did you find them so fast?" Lena asked, tears streaming down her face as she watched her daughter loaded into an ambulance. "Once we entered the building, it wasn't hard," the detective explained. "They were kept in what used to be the clinic's isolation wing." Amanda pulled out her phone with trembling hands and called Isabella. "Isabella, they found them. They're alive. We're at the old Clinica da Serra, but they're being taken to Colina Verde General. Meet us there." Isabella's scream of joy was audible even to Detective Martins, who nodded. "You can follow the ambulances to the hospital. I'll meet you there after we secure the scene." As they hurried back to Amanda's car, they saw forensics teams arriving, getting ready to search the abandoned clinic for clues. Detective Martins was already coordinating officers, directing them to different areas of the property. Amanda started her car with shaking hands, pulling out to follow the ambulances carrying their daughters. As they drove, Lena called Isabella again, updating her on what little they knew. Detective Martins said they arrested Dr. Albuquerque and another man. "It must be Marcus Diaz," Lena explained. "They found the girls inside the old clinic. They're alive, Isabella. They're really alive." As they followed the ambulances toward Colina Verde General, Amanda tried to process what had happened. After 6 months of agonizing uncertainty and imagining the worst, her daughter was alive, wounded, traumatized, but alive. The drive to the hospital felt both never-ending and instant. When they finally arrived, the emergency department was already preparing for the incoming patients. The ambulances pulled up to the bay, and medical teams rushed out to meet them, carefully moving the 3 young women to waiting gurneys. Amanda and Lena were led to a private waiting area, where Isabella joined them minutes later. Breathless from running, the 3 mothers embraced, their relief and joy mixed with worry over their daughter's conditions. "The doctors say they'll stabilize physically with time and proper care," Amanda explained, wiping tears from her eyes. "Can we see them?" Isabella asked eagerly. "Soon," he promised. "The medical team is still assessing them, but you'll be allowed in as soon as they can." "What happened to our daughters, Detective?" Amanda finally asked. "Why did Dr. Albuquerque take them?" Detective Martins pointed to the empty chairs. "You should sit down. It's a complicated story and we're still piecing it together." Once they were seated, Detective Martins began explaining what police learned from questioning Dr. Albuquerque and Marcus Diaz. From what we know so far, Dr. Albuquerque hired Marcus Diaz through a criminal contact to get rid of the 3 nurses, he explained, his voice grim. He wanted them gone quietly, permanently. But why? Lena asked, horrified. That's where it gets complicated, Detective Martins continued. According to Diaz, he was supposed to kill them, but he couldn't do it. Instead, he held them in the abandoned clinic, which we discovered was owned by Dr. Albuquerque's father 15 years ago. They were kept there the entire time, in a sealed-off wing that used to be the isolation ward, severely malnourished and neglected, but alive. So they were there all this time? Isabella asked, her voice shaking. Detective Martins nodded, gravely. Yes, in a locked wing that used to be the isolation ward. They were kept in horrible conditions, but alive. But why would Marcus Diaz keep them alive if he was hired to kill them? Amanda questioned. For leverage, the detective explained. Diaz has multiple outstanding warrants, aside from the convenience store robbery. He demanded Dr. Albuquerque perform illegal facial reconstruction surgery so he could escape law enforcement. He thought a new face would give him a fresh start, a clean identity, and Dr. Albuquerque refused. Lena, using her medical background, pieced it together. Exactly, Detective Martins confirmed. Dr. Albuquerque stalled for months, claiming he didn't have the sterile equipment or anesthetics at his private clinic, and that doing the surgery at the hospital would expose them both. According to Diaz, the doctor said he wouldn't risk everything for a criminal like him. So the sewer outfits, Amanda began. That was Diaz sending a message, the detective explained. He was angry about being strung along. He took the nurses' outfits from where he'd been storing them, bundled them with wire and medical tape, and flushed them into an industrial toilet at the abandoned clinic, which links to the main sewer. He wanted to pressure Dr. Albuquerque into the surgery by threatening to reveal what they'd done. And that blockage led to finding the outfits, Isabella realized. Correct, Detective Martins said. When we followed the fingerprint lead, we went to Diaz's last known address, but he wasn't there. He'd been living in the abandoned clinic all along, watching over the nurses. Did he confess? Lena asked. Yes, very willingly, the detective replied. He seemed almost relieved to be caught. His exact words were, "The doc's the one who planned it all. I only did the dirty work." A nurse appeared at the doorway, interrupting their conversation. "Excuse me, but one of the patients wants to speak with you, Detective. She says it's important." "Which one?" Amanda asked, anxious. "Paula Silvera," the nurse replied. Detective Martins stood. "I'll go see what she's got to say. It might help fill in missing pieces." "Can I come?" Amanda pleaded. "I need to see my daughter." After a moment, the detective nodded. "All right, but she's still very weak, so let her speak at her own pace." They followed the nurse down the hallway to a private room where Paula lay in a hospital bed, IV lines attached to her arms, monitoring machines beeping beside her. Despite her frail look, her eyes were alert and determined. "Mom," she whispered as Amanda rushed to her side, carefully hugging her daughter. "Oh, Paula," Amanda sobbed, stroking her daughter's hair. "I never lost hope." After a moment, Paula looked at Detective Martins. "You need to know why he did this," she said, her voice weak but firm. "Take your time," he encouraged, pulling a chair close to the bed. Paula took a shaky breath. Dr. Albuquerque was falsifying patient records and insurance claims. He was also inappropriate with sedated patients during procedures. She looked away, clearly uncomfortable sharing the details. "I started noticing mismatches in the paperwork about 7 months ago. Things didn't add up. Did you confront him? Detective Martins asked. Paula shook her head slightly. Not directly. I was scared I'd lose my job. I talked to Laura and Bella first. We decided to collect evidence before telling hospital administration. Amanda realized, squeezing her daughter's hand gently. So you were investigating him? Paula continued. We thought we were careful, but he must have found out somehow. One night after our shift, we were walking to our cars in the hospital parking garage when a van pulled up. The last thing I recall is something pressed over my face. Detective Martins nodded, making notes. That fits what we're learning. Dr. Albuquerque panicked when he realized Paula was documenting his actions. He hired Diaz because he couldn't risk his reputation being destroyed. He saw you three as threats that had to be eliminated. Is Laura okay? And Bella? Paula asked anxiously. They're getting treatment, Amanda assured her. They'll recover just like you. In the hallway outside, they heard commotion as more staff gathered, hearing that the missing nurses had been found. Another nurse appeared. Excuse me, Detective. Laura is awake and wants to speak with you too. Detective Martins nodded. I'll be right there. He turned back to Paula. Thank you for that information. It'll help build a strong case against Dr. Albuquerque. There's one more thing, Paula said, her voice growing weaker. Marcus wasn't as cruel as he could have been. He brought us food and water. He even snuck in meds when Bella got an infection. I think he was trapped too, in his own way. Detective Martins considered this. His cooperation might get him leniency, but he'll still face serious charges for helping with this. As they left Paula's room to check on the others, hospital staff approached with questions and support. News cameras had already gathered outside, and reporters tried to get statements from anyone entering or leaving. Detective Martins turned to Amanda. I need to check on the other patients and coordinate with my team at the clinic. They're searching Dr. Albuquerque's office here at the hospital too, looking for evidence of any other crimes he may have committed over the years. Isabella walked over, tears of joy streaking her face. Laura's awake. She wants to see me. Amanda embraced her friend. Go to her. I'll stay with Paula. Lena joined them, trying to keep her professional demeanor while her emotions broke through. Bella is improving, she reported. The doctors say she'll need intensive physical therapy, but she'll get better. They all will, Amanda said firmly. They survived, every one of them. News of the rescue spread rapidly throughout Novo Vale. As evening fell, a small crowd of well-wishers gathered outside the hospital, holding candles in a spontaneous vigil for the three young nurses who endured so much. Inside, Amanda returned to Paula's room, pulling a chair close to her daughter's bed. She held Paula's hand, gently, watching her daughter drift into a peaceful sleep for the first time in 6 months. The following days brought a whirlwind of activity at Colina Verde General Hospital. The three young nurses were moved to a secure wing where they could recover side by side, their rooms adjacent, so they could support each other while receiving individual care. Their physical healing would take time. Months of malnutrition had taken a serious toll on their bodies, but the emotional recovery would be the larger challenge. Hospital psychologists began gentle therapy sessions, helping them work through the trauma of their captivity. 1 week after their rescue, Amanda arrived at the hospital to find Paula sitting up in a wheelchair by her window. Though still thin, some color had returned to her cheeks, and her eyes held more of the spark Amanda remembered. "Mom," she greeted with a small smile. "Isabella and Lena are here too. We're all going to meet in Bella's room." Amanda helped wheel her daughter down the hallway to where Isabella and Lena were already waiting with their daughters. The scene was emotional, but filled with hope. 3 mothers reunited with their children against all odds. "The doctors say we can probably go home in another week, with home care nurses, of course," Laura announced, her voice stronger than it had been since the rescue. And lots of nutritional supplements, Bella added, her medical knowledge coming through despite everything. Our muscle mass is severely reduced. Detective Martins arrived a short time later, knocking and entering. Ladies, I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, Lena assured him. We were just talking about the recovery plan. I have updates on the case you might want to hear, he said, taking a chair Amanda offered him. Dr. Albuquerque has been formally charged with several felonies, including kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and multiple counts of medical malpractice. What about Marcus Dias? Paula asked softly. He's fully cooperating, Detective Martins explained. In exchange for his testimony against Dr. Albuquerque, the prosecutor is considering reduced charges. He still faces prison time, but his help in keeping you alive and leading us to discover the outfits will count in his favor. Did Dr. Albuquerque explain why he didn't just fire us? Bella asked. Why go to such extremes? According to his statement, it wasn't just about the insurance fraud you uncovered, the detective revealed. His private clinic was deeply in debt. He took out huge loans to open it, and he was using fake insurance claims to keep it running. If you had reported him, he would have lost his medical license and his clinic, everything. So, he decided your lives were worth sacrificing, Lena added, using her medical insight. It must have been devastating for him to be exposed that way, Detective Martins continued. When we searched his hospital office and his clinic, we found evidence of other crimes going back years, multiple incidents of inappropriate conduct with sedated patients, falsified medical records, even prescription theft. He built his career and reputation on lies. And no one suspected, Isabella asked, incredulous. He covered his tracks well, the detective explained, until Paula started noticing the paperwork issues. When he realized she was documenting his actions and that she confided in Laura and Bella, he saw all three of you as threats that needed to be eliminated. How did he connect with Marcus Dias? Amanda wondered. Through a former patient with criminal ties, Detective Martins said. Dias was desperate to change his appearance to avoid warrants. Dr. Albuquerque promised him facial reconstruction in exchange for dealing with the three nurses, but once that was done, the doctor kept delaying the surgery with various excuses. Their conversation paused as a nurse entered to check on patients, adjusting IV lines and taking vitals. After she left, Paula spoke again, her voice reflective. I remember the last day before we disappeared, she said. I was organizing patient files and found duplicate billing for procedures that hadn't actually been done. When I told Dr. Albuquerque, he brushed it off as a clerical error, but I saw something in his eyes. I should have known something. Was wrong, Amanda assured her. You couldn't have predicted this. Later that afternoon, as the mothers prepared to leave, Paula asked Amanda to stay behind for a moment. I kept thinking about you, she confessed, tears welling up. During the worst times, when I thought we wouldn't survive, I pictured you waiting at home. It gave me strength. Amanda hugged her daughter gently, mindful of her fragility. I never stopped believing, she whispered, not even for a day. Outside Paula's room, Isabella and Lena waited, barely containing their emotions. The three mothers had been forged into an unbreakable bond by their shared ordeal. Just as their daughters drew strength from each other during captivity, the hospital director offered them their positions back, Lena shared. When they're ready, of course. Do you think they will want to? Amanda asked, glancing back at Paula's room. I don't know, Isabella admitted, but whatever they decide, they'll have our support. As they walked through the hospital halls toward the exit, they passed the dermatology and plastic surgery unit where Paula once worked alongside Dr. Albuquerque. The staff there were subdued, still processing the betrayal by their former colleague. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the hospital grounds. News vans still lingered, though the initial frenzy had shifted from breaking news to ongoing coverage. The three mothers paused, looking back at the building where their daughters were finally safe. "I keep thinking how close we were to never finding them," Amanda said softly. "If those outfits hadn't blocked that pipe. If you hadn't noticed Dr. Albuquerque's strange behavior," Lena added. "If Detective Martins hadn't followed the clues so quickly," Isabella finished. They stood in silence for a moment, each reflecting on the series of events that led to their daughter's rescue. The road to healing would be long and challenging, but the nightmare of uncertainty was over. "Same time tomorrow?" Amanda asked, though she already knew the answer. Isabella and Lena nodded together, and the three women parted ways, each heading home to prepare for another day of supporting their daughter's recovery. A journey they would face together, just as they faced the long months of searching.